All right, back to a vampire rant. I'm going to start from the beginning here. Somewhere along the way, there were good people. Good people got attacked by bad people. Somehow, people became bad. When they died, those bad people became demons. And somewhere along the way, those demons started collecting human souls. Now, if you sell your soul uh, for whatever reason, you become a demon. Your soul becomes a demon. Uh, Kansas City has this problem with a certain kind of demon. There are vampires fucking everywhere within a 300-mile radius of Kansas City. The population of Kansas City, or that 300-mile radius, is about 20 million. And out of what you perceive as human beings in that area, there is roughly between, I would say, 1 and probably 10 million vampires just walking around. So, like, point a point 0.5% are vampires, all the way up to maybe 50% of that area is vampires. So, like, the people you're sitting next to at restaurants are probably trying to eat you. If you're out on the street just driving and you see, like, somebody looking over at you and shit, they're like, oh, that person looking at you is probably trying to eat you. There's so many goddamn vampires in that area that it's disturbing. And, like, uh, here's how you can tell they're vampires, alright? They have teeth that go down here, like sharp teeth, like vampires. Fangs, top and bottom. Their mouths get really big, like naturally. Like, if I smile like this, that's normal. These fuckers, like, smile from here to here. Their faces open up, their jaws get really big, go from like this to, and then they have like the yuck mouth, sharp teeth. The teeth can look like anything. So I've seen them with needles, like little gangly needle teeth, and I've seen them with like two fangs, like traditional. I've seen big mouth ones. I've seen small mouth ones. I've seen so many of them. It's fucking scary. But here are the symptoms that I'm aware of to a certain extent. Uh, they have fangs. They're not limited to nighttime as far as I know. I pray that they are, but that's not the case. I've seen them during the daylight. They don't eat a lot of food. They require about 6,000 calories a day to sustain themselves, so they have to bleed somebody somewhere sometime. EVEs, aliens, are actually vampires. Some of them are from here, some of them are not. The oldest on the planet, like, their line actually comes from elsewhere. He's probably out there stranded in space because some smart ass, like, disabled his fucking systems and he doesn't have backups for his shit because vampires are stupid. They possess people for three reasons. Three reasons. First reason is they possess to protect their elders. They possess when they want to feed, and they possess when they want to turn somebody. So voodoo is an Igbo word from Nigeria. Igbo is a language from Nigeria. It is a combination of the word or the letter V and then Udu, which means vessel. A zombie is essentially like a vampire vessel, somebody that just sold their souls and sold their soul singular. There isn't two. There's one per body, unless you're a pregnant woman. And even then, the baby has its own, or the fetus. I consider somewhere in between babies and fetuses, but they have a soul the second they're conceived. But those are the three reasons they possess. Let's see what else. Oh, they can turn into like pillars of smoke. Uh, like if you see somebody turn into like what appears to be a cloud all of a sudden, or like a smoke, or you smell sulfur around somebody, like freakish amounts of sulfur, like chicken house sulfur. I don't know if y'all are familiar with chicken houses, but sometimes they smell, well, most of the time they smell sulfury. Chicken shit. If you ever been to a natural spring, like up around Yellowstone, you probably smelled sulfur. Sulfur is like that fire and brimstone smell. It's what hell smells like. Um, uh, let's see. Vampires like to hunt. When they're hunting, they're typical. I don't know. They're either hunting for food or to turn somebody. There's not middle ground. Kansas City was one of 3 pits that I was aware of on the planet. When I was born in '83, there were between 12 and 13 million vampires, closer to 13. And one of them was in France, and that kind of, I don't know, some people refer to them as the Volturi or some shit like that. It was like, I don't know, some of them were really old, older than Vlad. And then there was the USSR, that was a vampire pit. But Kansas City is probably the worst because it's like a breeding and turning. Like it's a breeding facility for vampires. Like people refer, like, the joke around Kansas City is that it's really hard to escape from Kansas City. And I don't know. I've been living here on and off since 1986, back when Brown was still in the city, and that's the Ivy League institution Brown, which I attended. I actually got a several doctorates, but one of my doctorates was in theology, for filming and exorcism and actually catching the demon on camera. And at the time, I was unaware that, I guess, voodoo practitioner, like astral projection of one soul into another person's body, was a vampire's practice. Oh, here's another symptom for you. Just came to my mind. Their pulses drop to 0 when their souls possess another person's body. So, like, let's say that my body is here, your body is there, and the soul astrally projects out into your body. It's not something I do, but most of the people in this area do that. Like state, local officials, the police, and they think it's normal. Like, a lot of them don't realize that it doesn't take much to be turned into a vampire. I've heard of breath exchange, kisses, like any type of exchange. Like, if you're sitting there breathing somebody's fucking air, or you're making out with them, or fucking them, or getting fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, blood exchange, any type of fluid exchange. I mean, if you take shit from one person's body and put it into another person's body, and that person's body puts shit into this other person's body, that would turn you into a fucking vampire. So, like, polygamous sex activities is actually something that is not allowed when the military gets involved with the quarantine. Uh, like, if you get caught having sex in a vampire pit and you're a military personnel, you can actually get strung up for it because you're endangering your soldiers, you're endangering your personnel, you're endangering civilians, you're endangering yourself. You're just doing harm. Like, if you're not married and you're having sex in a vampire pit and you know it's a fucking vampire pit, then you're literally one of the stupidest people that ever lived. And like, not like, I mean, if you look at this, you can look at me and go, "Oh, what does that guy know?" Well, believe it or not, I've been consulting with the government as a child savant since before the age of 2 on issues such as, I don't know, interstate design. Uh, I've consulted with the FBI concerning uh, serial killers, uh, prosecutions that are too big for them to handle, that they have to call in, like logistics, you know, think tanks and shit. Like, uh, I'm a doctor of psychiatry. I was a chaplain in the army. My, I'm, I mean, chaplains are the ones that are responsible for the handling of issues of the soul. Uh, I mean, if you're a government official, one of the things you need to put on your government applications is, have you ever astrally projected or possessed another person? Because if your soul gets disconnected from your body, your heart will actually stop. Now, the only people that can do this are the damned, in my opinion. Um, like, you can actually see, like, on full spectrum photography, like gamma all the way down to UV spectrum photography. A lot of times you need different cameras, but I don't know what the standard is these days. I should look it up, but I don't care. Uh, Grayscale photography. Um, you can actually see a soul, like, leaving, or not leaving, but entering into someone's body. Uh, Another reason, uh, the possession, the the possession issue is to protect their elders. Like, if you seek psychically, or like if you're remote viewing and you seek an elder of a vampire, like the one that turned them, they respond by possessing you. They defend their elders. They'll even defend the demon that purchased their soul. Uh, so, like, if a demon, let's say this notebook has a fucking demon in it, and then I'm not, it doesn't, but let's say it does, and there's a vampire that sold its soul to the demon that's in this notebook. uh, the vampire would actually, like, try to retrieve it and protect it. Like, there's some sort of weird esoteric demonic, like, anti honor thing, where, like, they protect their elders. And keep in mind, like, a vampire isn't a human. It isn't a point of evolution. It's cannibalism is the most demonic thing that occurs on this planet. And so if you know somebody that is a vampire, you should report them to the Army, to the Air Force, to the Navy. Like, just use common sense. If you see a vampire on an airplane, or somebody possesses you on an airplane, like, call the Air Force and be like, well, this fucking airplane, I think, had a vampire on it. Like, report that shit. If you're, like, on the ground, call the Army. Uh, FBI doesn't do shit. The CIA probably, and they've infiltrated the government here. I mean, don't the cops don't know shit about it? They're not even collegiately educated, and most of them are too big of fucking pogues to even comprehend. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're on the coast, call the Navy. Like, there are people in the military that handle these things. They exist. I'm not trying to scare you, but vampires fucking exist. Uh, they're fucking everywhere around Kansas City and shit. So, uh, let's see what else. They are. They're like if you meet somebody and you think they're kind of like sociopathic, like lacking empathy or emotions, like they're probably. I mean, I'm not bagging on sociopaths. We've all met one that's a legitimate sociopath. But think about the term sociopathic. It strikes a chord in my mind, hopefully in yours, with the path of or a social path. Like the path of their soul is social, not like interactions, not like networking. The human body isn't meant to be like a network hub for demons and souls and shit. It's meant for the soul that was put into it, not anything else. If you have something foreign in your body, like there are ways to like fight back against this astral projection shit, like or possession. The word for generations. The word Jews use is covet. Uh, well, I'm sure it's different in Hebrew, but the way it translates is coveting. Like, it's like the first step in a commandment violation. But the point about the past 10 little bits of conversation here was that the points were about vampires violate commandments. They're like fucking, they're trash. They're the rejects of humanity. They were so defective that God sent them to hell, or that they felt so defective themselves that they sold their souls. So keep in mind the exchange thing, the possession thing, and the fact that they're trying to eat you if you're human. Oh, the other point I was going to make is that innocent people, you, you're like Halo kind of things. Like there are human beings that are innocent have halos. I mean, cultures have referred to these things as chi, ki, uh, auras, like all of those things. If you ever see, like, if you see auras, and all of this is possible. Like, we're approaching uh, a discernible amount of observation concerning the perceptions of the human body, and where things like everybody thinks there's only five senses. We have the U.S. government has documented extrasensory perception, the numbers in the hundreds, if not thousands, of varieties of things, like things from like people smelling blood on people's breath, and of course it's a sense of smell, but the stimulus reaction is like the hair on the back of your neck standing up, or weird shit, like. But if you see auras, some people can see halos, But anyways, I'm the guy that took the time to put cameras up on street corners and light lights and stuff. It's not traffic shit. It's actually vampire surveillance. I'm trying to get them to go and do flood observation. The government. I'm trying to convince them to place cameras every mile to half mile down rivers so we can predict flood patterns and warn people, days if not months ahead of time. But I don't know if they've done this yet. I don't know whose jurisdiction it is. It's just I consult. So, but I was a chaplain in the army, and I was privy to a lot of information. And I don't think this shit should be secret because there's fucking demons like in the government. Like, you ever met like a mean cop? Like the dudes that beat Rodney King were probably vampires. If you've ever met, God forbid you've ever been pulled over, but if you've ever been pulled over and the cop does that like butt hump thing when he's like cuffing you, where he's like humping you and shit, they're fucking faggots. Like they don't qualify for military service for one reason or another, and they're power hungry. I mean, they fit the brochure as far as like if there was a brochure of advertisements of things that are required for like being a vampire or being suspected of being a vampire, like attacking your own countrymen, shooting people in the back, legally tag, like violating Constitution shit, and and uh, violating the commandments like falsely testifying and it gives you a ticket for not having your seatbelt on because you were getting some roadhead from your wife or something. I shouldn't have said that. I was just bagging on the whole polygamy thing. Oh, by the way, uh, don't let your significant other, um, don't, oral copulation is bad because it's technically cannibalism, that exchange thing. Like, don't get married to somebody if they possess you. That's just a demon trying to throw your life off the path that I pray God has for you. Trust me, I've been there. Like, they determined me to be immune a long time ago when they turned me into an army chaplain. Like, I was kind of almost born into the fucking position. I'm not now, but I am one of those people that's qualified to like exercise very high-ranking individuals should they be facing a tough demon. There are other issues too, like if you feel like somebody's possessing you and you perceive yourself as a commandment adhering or possibly forgivable, human being, you should beg God for mercy if you fucked up concerning the Ten Commandments. I'm not talking about like eating bacon that can be fixed. You can pray to God like, oh God, I had a bacon cheeseburger. Please forgive me. And he'll be like, well, I told you in the Torah, but if you're nice about it, I might forgive you. I'm not imitating God. I'm just maybe Metatron, I guess. But uh, it was a Dogma throwback, by the way. Just uh, yeah, you can lower your halo. If you have people possessing you, and I know for a fact this works actually. If there's somebody possessing you, lower your halo, like just psychically. I mean, if you have to like physically, like you're by yourself, don't do this in public. It might be embarrassing, but like try to psychically lower your halo. And I know this works. When you lower your halo and somebody else is in your body, like it causes the body of the vampire, the demon soul that's occupying you, it causes their neurons to disconnect back in their like pulseless dead corpse of a body. So like lower your fucking halo. You can put yourself, like merchant skills. Like, imagine this is like merchant skill stuff. Like you know, put yourself on one end of the merchant scale, psychically, like prayer wise. So the whole purpose of these things are to pray to God while you're doing this. Like, pray to God that those that are attacking you with this voodoo vampire, vampiric attack, like pray for their demise, and then lower your halo, put yourself on a scale. Uh, there are other things you can do, but I don't know. Just think like prayer tools. Like Jews use prayer tools, Christians use prayer tools, Masons use prayer tools, and masonry is actually just a whole bunch of stolen like prayer tools that they think works against everybody, but it doesn't. It only works for good. Like this, the merchant scale thing. Like God will only help you if you're needing help against something eviler than you are. So I hope you're a good person and that this stuff works all the time. Lower your halo. Like it will work. It's one of the reasons this I've been playing a video game recently, but the Goku episode Dragon Ball Z thing, the Halo, like Goku's got a halo. Now it's a little idolic. They should say the Dragon Ball or the DBZ fucking idols, but somebody corrupted the story. The message isn't maybe being communicated here. I don't know. I'm ranting. I'm gonna let you go as soon as this gets to a reasonable amount of time. Like now. Bye.